Hello, this is another video in the series of very basic Windows network management. In this video I want to show you how to deploy software to all of your computers so you don't have to walk around each of the computers to install stuff. In the previous video I showed you how to create shared folders and how to check that the computers on the domain can access those shared folders. The software that we're going to deploy needs to be within a shared folder on the server, so make sure that you have made that and understand how it works and that your computers can get to it. If you've skipped the previous video, it may be worth watching that one. So what I want to do is I'm going to want to install Chrome across all of my computers. So my computers only have Microsoft Edge and Internet Explorer on them, which hopefully everyone kind of assumes and knows is fairly bad. Edge is better than Internet Explorer, but Chrome is still far better than everything else. We need to go and download Chrome, but it needs to be not just the standard Chrome download from chrome.google.com. Stuff that you deploy using group policy in the software section needs to be an MSI, so a Microsoft installer file. So what I'm going to do is go to Google and just Google for Chrome MSI download. The first result, which isn't an advert, is cloud.google.com Chrome Enterprise browser download, which seems like a really good start. So we'll go there. And further down this page it says the bundle download includes Chrome MSI installer, which is fantastic. The other thing it includes, which will be in a later video, is ADMX templates, which are Active Directory templates. If you wanted to make changes to Chrome across all of your estate without having to visit each computer, you can use Active Directory templates to do that. However, that's something for a much later video because it involves a lot of changing to do with where your domain stores its group policy templates and everything. So initially, let's download this browser bundle. And that's in the downloads folder. Let's extract that. And tidy up all of these open windows. So we've extracted the zip file which we downloaded, going to the installers section, and here we have several MSI or Windows installer files. I don't know about the endpoint verification, I don't think I've seen that file before, but the legacy browser support we don't need, and you probably only need if you're into an advanced setup. It allows for, I think within Chrome you can bring in an Internet Explorer tab for old intranet sites which might only support Internet Explorer. So this Google Chrome standalone 64-bit installer we want to put within a network share which all of the computers on our domain can access. If you saw the previous video you will have already done that, so let's cut that file and go and dump it within our software share. So shares, software, I'm going to create a folder called Google Chrome rather than just dumping it, oops, I've missed an H, rather than just dumping it straight into the software share. Good idea to make sure that the computers on your network can actually get to that. So as demonstrated in the last video, if you do run server 2019 software, Google Chrome, good start, we can get within that folder, and if I just try and copy that file, yep, we can get to that file. So that's really good. If you've got access denied, then group policy will probably also fail to install that file. So just make sure that computers can access it and you haven't messed up the permissions somewhere along the line. Go back to our group policy, and a bit like with our mapped shared drive, I want to apply this to all of the computers within my company. So I want to right-click, create a group policy in this domain and link it. For a software install, I quite like to have a conventional or a naming convention. So I normally start them install and then colon and then the name of the software. So Google Chrome. Rather than just calling it Google Chrome or possibly Google Chrome install, if you have a large Active Directory list, so if I do another one, say install Adobe Reader, if you had a lot of these and some other settings like computer lockdown, it would be Adobe Reader, and then in alphabetical order it would be then computer lockdown, and then below that would be Google Chrome. So looking for all of the software that would be installed becomes quite difficult because it's intermingled with other settings. So prefixing groups of settings like software installs makes for quite a tidy group policy layout. So I'll quickly demonstrate that just by renaming these. So I'll do computer lockdown. At the moment it's easy to see which ones are installing software and which is something else. If these were named differently, then you end up where Adobe Reader is separate from Google Chrome, and it is not quite so obvious that some are installing software and some are not. However, let me delete these irrelevant ones I've just created. So back to our basic settings, rename that back to having install Google Chrome. As demonstrated in the last video, at the moment there are no settings there at all, so no user-based settings and no computer configuration settings. So if we right-click on it and go Edit, and because this is within the section applying to computers, we need to make sure that we apply this within the computer configuration area. So I'm going to, only because I know where this already exists, it's under Policies, Software Settings, and Software Installation. In this blank area, where it says there are no items, right-click, click on New, click on Package, and this is where we need to use a path or a file which is accessible across the network. So I can't just go this PC, C drive, shares, software, because all of the computers across the network will not have that MSI file in their C drive shares folder. That doesn't exist. So we need to make sure that we use a network path. So run server 2019 software Google Chrome, and if we look here, it's now / server 2019, which is the network share, the network server, then the software share Google Chrome. So I'll copy that, paste it into this bar, click open. It doesn't look like anything has changed, but if we click up here, instead of being C drive, it is the network share. So I now want to select the Google Chrome installer. For most small networks, just doing the assigned option is what you'd want. And it's as simple as that. That should be done. So Google Chrome is there. Close that. In this settings tab here, if I refresh this and maximize these, we've got software, assigned applications, Google Chrome, and it'll tell you which product, which version it's installing, where it's getting the file from. So over on Bob's computer, we should be good to go. However, unlike the last time, which was a user-based setting to do with the network drive, the N drive, computer-based settings often aren't applied until you reboot the computer. And in fact, some user-based ones aren't applied until you log out and log in. So just doing a group policy update force will not suddenly make Google Chrome appear on the computer. It may even give me a message telling me that I need to reboot because software policies have not been applied, which it hasn't actually. So one thing I may not have yet done, I believe I did, is I would check that the computers themselves are actually in the correct place within company computers. So in users and computers, company computers. Okay, that's a good demonstration as to why a group policy isn't applying to something, is I've not actually put these computers within these sections in Active Directory. They're still just sitting in the computers section here. So it's no wonder that those weren't applying. Especially if you join a new computer to the domain and you're like, why is the software not getting sent to it? It's because by default, computers often join this just plain computers section, and so therefore the software won't get sent to it. You need to make sure that when you joined a computer to the domain, or in this case, in my own demonstration, that you need to have put them into the correct place before anything actually will work properly. So Bob's office computer, I'm going to put that into office computers, and Jane's office PC, I'm going to make it a warehouse computer. And now we're actually in a good position where it will apply properly. So just for good measure, group policy update force, and I expect this time I will get a message telling me that there is software install to be applied, but it won't apply until you restart. So here we go, group policy extension software install was unable to apply because it must be processed before system startup. So it then asks me, do I want to restart? If I press yes on that, it'll take about 30 seconds, so I'm going to press no, and then I'm just going to restart manually. And that's more like it. So please wait is actually where it's installing software. This is quite a frustrating screen because if there's a problem installing software or your network link is really slow, you spend a long time sitting here at please wait, and especially if you're an end user, you're just like, oh, the computer's so slow, what's it doing? And if you're an administrator, you've got no idea what it's doing. I will show you in a minute, before we reboot Jane's computer, a setting which will make it much more obvious what it's doing and shows you details. So now when we log on, hopefully, now I've put it in the correct place in group policy and the computer has actually applied that install, we now have Google Chrome. So if I had a fleet of say 10 computers or even 100 computers or 1,000, that would save me having to walk around each of the computers to install Google Chrome or any other bit of software. But the problem we had was it took a while to install, and if you're especially on a wireless network, that would have taken probably 10 times as long. So the user is sitting there at their computer with a screen which just says please wait, and you're wondering what the heck's going on. So what I almost always enable is something called, or used to be called, Verbose Logon or Verbose Startup Messages, which means that when, and you'll see it on Jane's computer once I've done this, it actually tells you what's happening when you're logging on, when you're shutting down. It tells you which service is starting, which service is stopping, whether it's running the map drives, whether it's installing printers, rather than just showing you a please wait screen, which is really useful for troubleshooting. So I'm going to create a new computer-wide group policy object. And I'm going to call it Verbose Startup Messages and edit that group policy object. going to go into policies, administrative templates, and rather than attempting to dig through all of this menu system, I'm going to use its search function, which is really useful if you are doing something from scratch and you knew that you needed to make a lot of changes within one particular area. For example, remote desktop services. You would just browse within there, look through the list and see what you wanted to change. In this instance, where you know that the setting exists and it's one setting you want to find, but you've forgotten which section it's in, the search setting or the all settings search option is very useful. So you'd right click, go filter options and enable keyword filters. This one I always change to all, because if you do any and you type in the computer, it'll match anything with the and also entirely separately anything with computer, so it doesn't really filter the list down much, whereas if you do all, it will only do the ones which contain the and computer. So in this case I'm going to search for highly detailed and then click on all system settings, display highly detailed status messages. Double click on it, gives you some information. If you enable this setting, the system displays status messages which reflect each step of the process of starting up, shutting down, logging off or logging on. Yes please, so enable on that, and then we can close the group policy editor. So applied to computers, we now have install Google Chrome and also verbose startup messages. I do want to make sure that the verbose startup messages appears before Google Chrome, or basically it's the first thing which is done, because otherwise it will do install Google Chrome while displaying please wait, and then it will do the verbose startup messages. In this section, the link order is the order in which it's processed, so I want verbose startup messages to be processed first, and then I want Google Chrome to install. So now I've done that change, we go over to Jane's PC, do a group policy update, which once again should tell me that there's a software package to be installed and I need to reboot. And again, you don't have to do this. If I left this 20 minutes and then the user rebooted their computer, all this would happen naturally anyway. I want to do it for the purpose of this video, so doing a group policy update force means that it will happen in the timescale that I can record a video in. Now I want to restart her computer. And as we can see, rather than just please wait or shutting down, it's now showing stopping services and then the restarting wording. So it's already applied the detailed messages for startup and shutdown. And this time, rather than just please wait, it actually shows installing managed software, Google Chrome. So if the user's sitting there and they're on Wi-Fi and it's taking 10 times as long as this video, or the demonstration in this video is taking, rather than them just ringing you up and going, it's just taking a long time and you've got no idea why, at least they can say, oh, it's saying it's installing Google Chrome, or if you've got a bigger software package, oh, it's saying it's installing something else, and you can say, well, if you're on Wi-Fi, that's just the time it's going to take, or that you could advise them to plug into the network or whatever. So if we now log on, Google Chrome should also be present on Jane's computer. And there we are. So in this video, you've learned how to put software in, or an MSI package, into a network share, how to add a group policy object into the group policy tree to install that software, and also that it's quite useful to have detailed logon and shutdown and startup messages turned on, which while doing that also showed you how to use the filter option within group policy to filter out the settings so that you don't have to look at a massive list or dig through the menu system. If this video has been useful to you, it would be super helpful to me if you wouldn't mind subscribing. Don't need to have video notifications switched on, don't particularly mind about that, but the subscriber numbers is really, really helpful. Thank you very much.